Live from Sono Entertainment and Recording Studios, Episode 6, TEE Time. Your boy Tiempo.
And EB. It's me, EB. I'm thinking about that. 6 episodes. Not tired of it yet, are you?
Nah.
Not at all, right?
NFL season still pushing through.
That it is.
Yankees dominating.
Oof.
It's a good time to be here,
There may be a couple October miracles around the corner.
Yeah, we'll keep,
so we
we'll
can
keep
hope.
an eye on that.
Oh, man. As the weeks keep rolling on, tea time. As the weeks keep rolling on. The world of sports just really doesn't really ever seem to cease to amaze us, because week in, week out, we're always getting treated to something different. From overhyped players, teams to teams flying under the radar. The other teams just quietly chipping away at their aspirations of winning a championship. And
As the weeks go on, nothing changes with the Jets. Shocker.
Nothing ever does. And we got a little bit of MLB postseason. Talk a little bit of football. Got to go over the weeks.
Yankees with a nice ALDS sweep. We are awaiting the next winner between this game, the Astros and the Rays right here.
Yep.
Rays are actually up 3-0 on Verlander right now, who came on short rest. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's jump right into the NFL. And I think we had a good game going the Thursday night to start off the week. Your thoughts on the Rams and Seahawks? I know you picked the Seahawks. That was a big win for you. You got a little lucky there with Zerline at the end. I thought he would have nailed that kick, but...
Yeah, I know. That did a little damage to me, not only in that, but with the fantasy football. I played him. He actually was up with 14 points, which would have been a nice little extra oomph to have. He actually took it away from me. But another week, another one gone. Thursday night game. So I think you ended up doing better in the picks this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the picks this week look good. I went 5-2. Big comeback of that 0-7 last week.
Yep.
But I think that was the best Thursday night game of the year so far.
Sure.
I mean, you saw Russell Wilson light it up, 4 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett so far, I think, besides that Fuller catch, that's probably the catch of the year in the end zone.
Yeah,
back
beautiful
corner. Not that much room to work with, but little tiptoe action there.
Well, and a great play on Russell Wilson to get out of the pocket and just make that all happen. It was
Yeah, and with all the weapons Goff has, he definitely put them in position to win the game. I think Brandon Cooks coming out with that concussion was a really big hit to that offense. Him in the slot, you always have to keep eyes on him, and that really opens up Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. He had another big game. But, it really shakes things up in the NFC West now. You got Seahawks are 4-1, 49ers are 4-0, and Rams and 49ers, that's a must-win for the Rams next week. They're 3-2, so they need to make up some ground room there. But
I got my that game starred for sure. That is a heck of a game, and I'm actually reading the stat line on that game. The Seahawks as in primetime, they're 9-1 in Thursday night games since 2010. So they just seem to get it done in primetime. That's why they're one of the hotter American teams, and keep it rolling every year.
We talk every week about Mahomes, leading the MVP, but
they're quietly.
It might be Russell Wilson right now.
Every year he's always consistent, always brings it, and it's fun to watch because he's shouting out. Shout out to the shorter guys playing quarterback, but he's doing it.
So let's get to the game that I picked first last week. Jets Eagles. Had a little optimism leading up into the week. Maybe Sam Darnold would play. Maybe but
clear to go for next week. But
what is Adam Gase doing right now? Because if you knew there was a chance of Darnold being out, why isn't Falk getting any first-team reps, anything in practice? He's sitting on the sideline.
Yeah.
This team is just embarrassing.
Well, they can't get a single thing going. That's one game that I watched start to finish, and they could not get a single thing going.
It was cringe-worthy.
It literally was. And you got to feel bad for Le'Veon Bell because every time he gets the ball, you want to do something with it, but doesn't have any time.
Yeah.
There's always a defender in the backfield as soon as he's getting the ball. And on the other side of the ball, the Eagles, their offense was a little stagnant, though their defense was what carried them a little. Ended up inevitably carrying them.
When you break down the grand scheme of things, the final score was 31-6, but the Eagles scored 2 defensive touchdowns, and I think the Jets without C.J. Mosley even holding the Eagles' offense to 17 points, I thought that was pretty good for considering what the circumstances are. But there's just no way they can compete without having a decent offense. Sam Darnold got cleared to play this week. We got Chris Herndon back. Maybe Mosley plays. I think they'll put up a definitely competitive game versus the Cowboys, but the last 3-4 weeks has just been unwatchable. It's
not fun to watch. You're not kidding. But let's not get hung up on the Jets because we're going to be saying the same
we
old
can do that
song
all
and
day.
dance every week.
So,
You know?
game you picked last week, the other New York team, you were very high on the Giants last week.
was.
You thought they were going to beat the Vikings.
Yep.
And
They got squashed. They didn't really have much going for them. Adam Thielen had a big game. Stephon Diggs didn't too consistent enough. I was a little higher on Danny Dimes. I thought he was actually going to bring it, but didn't have quite the game we were looking. Or I say we. I'm not a Giant fan. Didn't have quite the game he was looking for. But
you know who
it's
did
growing.
have a good game?
It's the growing pains. What was that?
Our man, Dalvin Cook, 21 carries, 132 yards. Should have had a touchdown that Jabril Peppers stripped him at the 1 yard line, but I think ultimately this was the perfect game for Kirk Cousins. I know we crap on him every week. I got to give it to him this week. 22 of 27, 306 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Found Thielen twice. He had a big game.
Yeah.
Even Diggs, a couple catches, got him back
3
in the
catches,
offense.
40,
and I think this was the perfect defense to open that up for. Give him a little confidence and see what he can do now. But it's the first good week we've seen of Kirk Cousins, so I'm not ready to give it to him yet, but we'll see what he does moving forward. I think he has a game versus the Packers this week or another divisional game, so we'll see what happens there.
Now, another game I really want to get into right now because I heard a stat line earlier today that, quite frankly, blew my mind. This is the last night game, the Monday night game, the 49ers and the Browns.
Sure.
The 49ers rushed the ball 40 times, and they averaged 7 yards per carry. To me, that's just your consistency. Granted, Matt Breida had an 80-yard run that really set the tone there, but that's pretty awesome. We almost had 2 runners have 100 yards.
Yeah, and I
Tevin
think
Coleman 97 yards, but come on now.
I think Breida finished up with like a $115. So he after that big run, he only really had 35 yards. But the Browns did not stand a chance in this game.
No,
I think everyone is over this Baker Mayfield hype. He's really hasn't been looking like a good quarterback, and it's like all these people last year when the Browns beat the Jets, it's like, oh, Baker Mayfield's such a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. But it's like, look at him digressing now in year 2. He has, by far out of the second-class rookie QBs, the best weapons around him.
Surrounding
Nick
sporting
Chubb,
cast,
Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. Odell Beckham last night, where is it here? 2 catches for 27 yards. What is that? He threw the ball for almost more yards than he actually received the ball for.
Yeah, I know. Well, Jarvis Landry had a little bit of a better game, 4 receptions, 75 yards, but they were both targeted 6 times. Not really making much of it, I
started Baker
on
in fantasy, and it's 0 fantasy points.
He was 8 for 22. That's horrible. He had a horrible game. 2 interceptions. You hope that he picks it up a little bit because he's writing a lot of checks that his mouth's not been able to cash, or his arm's not able to cash. For example, do you see that little Richard Sherman beef going on there?
Yeah, all that, and then you see. I love this, by the way, that Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, sorry.
Yeah.
He stuck it to him. I'm happy he did
Absolutely.
that because he
Bittersweet.
disrespected Ohio State, and that's what happens when you run your mouth and you can't cash the check.
2 years later, he had a game on him. He had definitely a game. I think Nick Bosa is going to be an early candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Easily.
Yeah, the Niners are rolling 4-0.
Absolutely, and it's because of their defense. And Jimmy Garoppolo is just making the right plays.
Now, let's get into my next pick of last week, Texans-Falcons. I told you the Falcons are awful, never picking them again this year. So I picked the Texans, and I was right. 53-32. Deshaun Watson, 5 touchdowns, 426 yards. Will Fuller.
Listen. I'm reading the stat right now. NFL, thank you for just pissing me and you off that much more because Tommy and I Tiempo and I both did not play Will Fuller this week in 2 respective leagues. And he's
57 fantasy points.
Well, NFL's putting in as 53.7 fantasy points, most by a wide receiver since Terrell Owens in 2000.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome.
Cost me for sure.
Cost us both.
Either way, the Falcons are inept. I just don't understand.
1-4.
Dan Quinn might be out of there.
Yep.
I thought Dirk Cutter coming back and taking Matt Ryan under that offense would help him out, but
not quite.
It's not working. Devontae Freeman, 11 carries, 30 yards. What is that? Again, I don't think he's ran for more than 50 yards this entire year.
No.
Julio, 3 catches for 42 yards.
Yeah, I don't want to get much deeper into this game because every time I look at those stat lines, I'm just annoyed that I didn't play Will Fuller.
Let's get into your
my Chargers.
Yeah.
Can I go on a little rant for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
What the hell's going on, guys? you need help, just call me in. I'll come in. I'll make sure the strength and conditioning's there so no one's getting hurt. No one's pulling a hammy. Hell, I got you guys. I'm a Charger fan. I've been one for a long time. And I'm happy to help because you guys need it. Every year, the first 8 weeks are miserable, horrible, boring, incompetent as you will ever see it because they make the dumbest moves or the dumbest turnovers year in and year out in the first 8 weeks of the year. So I know they're going to turn it on come November to December. You hope they kind of get it together because they're just making mistakes left and right. You got Anthony Lynn. He's a great coach, but wrong plays. Put Melvin Gordon in the goal line. You give it to Austin Eckler, and he fumbles it at the 1, and it goes out of the end zone, the touchback. So therefore, you don't have the chance to even make it or put points on the board. But it is what it is. It really is what it is.
I thought that would be an easy win for you guys.
You would think, and
the Broncos have been struggling all year. I think they were 1-4 coming into the game.
Oh no, they were 0-4, so they got the win. But it's a divisional game that's going to come back to bite them in the Chargers in the ass later in the year when it comes time to you're divvying up your divisional wins to see who gets that first seed. And you got Kansas City Chiefs in with you. It's
this one game will screw you somehow.
It really does. It is what it is. And we're going to get into a little portion I want to talk about in a little bit. Actually, on the NFL, the biggest upsets, and we talked about that. And Chargers are looking like they're on that list because they had high aspirations coming into this year, and they are underperforming right now.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon's bounce back game, first game back, 14 carries, 31 yards. I don't really think I get trying to ease him into the offense, but I really think that you could have done a little more, Like you said, Eckler had that big fumble on the goal line. Austin Eckler, I didn't even realize this till after the fact, 15 catches for 86 yards.
He eats week in, week out.
Quiet.
Well, a lot of them are the dump off passes. He does make, I will say, make a lot of he has a couple downfield catches. Is pretty good for his height and stature. But he's a lot of like that. He's a really good out of the backfield type catch. Danny Woodhead, Darren Sproles type player. That's where the league or the NFL is shifting to, more of those 3 down backs that can just catch the ball and run it when you need them to.
Yeah, hear you. So getting into the last game. Of the week that we picked. So right now I went 5-2 last week. I'm at 23-1. Mm-hmm. So catching up slowly.
Got 3 games on you.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. I took the Packers last week over the Cowboys. I think that I had a good feeling in Green Bay's defense. They've been playing hot for the last few weeks, and Cowboys kind of been struggling a little bit on offense.
Dak was throwing it over.
Yeah, Zeke
turning it over at will.
Got it going. I know he probably should have been at training camp and not training on the beach or, whatever he was doing. But I feel like if he was at camp, he'd be up to speed by now. But maybe a couple more weeks, Plays the Jets this week, so he'll bust open for $150 and two. So
they need to get Tony Pollard the ball a little bit more. But because he was there from the get-go. So you got to give him the burn a little bit more. So he had a couple 100-yard games this year. So it's keep feeding it to him. Zeke's going to eat as well, but Dak Prescott was turning the ball over a lot. He still threw for 400 yards, but was turning the ball over a lot.
Yeah, three interceptions. One bounced out of Cooper's hands, but
sure,
Cooper did his thing. 225 yards.
A couple he was just throwing downfield that just overthrew the player and just got a little away from him.
I think this 34-24 score isn't really
indicative
telling of the game. This game was over. In
the third.
Yeah,
the Cowboys were trying to fight their way back in the
24-3
fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And they were doing their own. They were definitely coming back there. And Brett Maher missing that field goal with, just it was a minute, a little under a minute, 2 minutes left, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And missed the field goal. So you turn the ball over on downs pretty much. And it is what it is. They run the clock out and the game's over. So.
And absolutely, your main focus on the Cowboys defense is that you have to shut down Aaron Rodgers, but the only problem is you didn't shut down Aaron Jones. That guy went
4
wild
touchdowns,
on you. 4 rushing touchdowns, caught another 7 passes for 75 yards.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Things might be coming to an end in Jerry's world for Jason Garrett. And
you think so?
I think if he doesn't make the playoffs this year and he doesn't maybe advance them to the NFC title game, then he's done. He's out of there.
Yeah, Jerry Jones doesn't play that game. Now, did you see the offensive coordinator on the Cowboys? Dude looks like he's 13.
That's who they're saying they want the next head coach to be.
Really?
Kind of that Sean McVay,
younger-minded
offensive guru type. But he wasn't a bad quarterback in college in Boise State, but I just don't see it. I think he's a little too young to be taking the reins over there. That's a pretty big job there. other than New England, I think that might be the biggest.
Yeah.
All eyes on you type job.
Yep. That's not an easy one. So I got a new little topic I want to try with you. So I'm going to hit you with a series of questions. We're going to call it Quarrel of Questions, and we're going to do it weekly because I like the name. I like alliterations. And you're just going to fire off quick, all right? You're going to have to answer back, see what you got. We got to come up with BK, hit like one of the buttons and make it seem like a doo-doo-doo.
Gotcha.
Quarrel of Questions.
Right,
Tiempo.
hit me.
49ers that good? Browns that bad?
I think the 49ers are that good. They've shown a lot these first few games. You know, I know they were going up against the Steelers' second QB, but I think that was a big statement win last night. You know, they're proving that their offense is really getting in sync. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's kind of taking that next step with Kittle, but the Browns are bad, but I think the 49ers are more good than bad.
Good response. Got to run it. You got to shorten it up though. Quarrel of questions. You got to fire up. You know what I mean? I wanted to let it run its course, but Zion hype, legit or will it fade out?
Absolutely legit. That dude is a monster. I watched every game at Duke, and he's gonna win Rookie of the Year. No, I said Ja Morant would, but he'll come runner up.
Colts here to stay, or will the season show they run their luck?
It's a tough one. I think that division's wide open right now. That was a big, impressive win versus the Chiefs. I think if they can edge out the Titans and Jags, it might be their division to win.
Can the Yanks keep putting up runs, or will the Astros stifle it?
Let's see if it is the Astros first, because they're still losing 3-0 right now in Game 4. But it's going to be a challenge for the Yankees, especially with 3 top-notch pitchers. But I think these bats are hot. I think this is the year, and I think we're going all the way.
There it goes. Deep to left. Really deep.
Yeah, that'll be Didi. Don't worry.
Moving along. Can the Rays snag another win?
Let's hope, man. Where are we at right now? Top 4, still 0-3. Think they can hang on to this, but I think the Astros ultimately, if they have to bully up in Game 5, then they'll just throw Garrett Cole out there, and that'll be that.
Can the Nationals win Game 5 over the Dodgers?
It's very possible. I had this in my baseball notes that it's very interesting that Clayton Kershaw is on full rest right now. Do or die game, and they're not starting him. So I think that's a telltale sign that they don't trust him in this big game. I think the Nationals can pull an upset.
And the final question, is Booger McFarland Zion's father? The Zion hype is real.
It's very well possible.
That guy looks astonishingly like him. It's rather incredible. So let's get into a little NBA. Got a couple things. I had 2 questions or 2 topics I wanted to run by you, and we're going to do our top 5 teams. And if we're putting together a starting 5, no cap, who would you pick? So I'm going to hit you first with the starting 5. I'm going to give you my starting 5, and I even threw a 6th man in there just because I believe in the 6th man this year.
All right.
So being that I'm a Sixers fan, and the Sixers are playing right now, the Loong Lions, and they're already pretty much, winning by 60 by half. I'm going to go with Ben Simmons as my PG, my point guard.
Of course.
Absolutely. Played 79 games last year, averaged 7.7 assists per game. And to fill out my roster of the rest of the 4, I put shooters around him. So I'm going to throw Klay Thompson, got a 40% three-point shooter. Paul George, a nice defending back there. Actually led the league in steals and can shoot threes. He averaged actually 4 threes a game last season. And I would actually put Karl Anthony Towns at my center, surprisingly enough so. 40% three-point shooter. You know what I'm putting at my my big 4, my power forward? Kawhi Leonard. Because he can defend anybody in the league, and he can bang any shot you want. That's who I want taking my last shot in the game. Have, Ben Simmons throw it to him.
Fair
and
enough.
to throw in my 6th guy, Blake Griffin. Low-key a 24 point per game player last year. Had a couple big games, threw up 50. He's becoming a shooter in his later half of his career, so I got to give it to him. So I think it's pretty solid. Big.
So you have one person that I have in my starting 5.
Who's that?
That's Kawhi.
Kawhi, of course.
I put him at small forward just because my power forward is Greek Freak. I think that dude is going to win MVP this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to go on a tear. I think he's going to miss his teammates a little too much this year. But
Who, Giannis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got Kawhi, small forward. Greek Freak, power forward. Center. Who do you think I got?
Embiid? Jokic? Yeah, Nikola Jokic. Great passing center. Big. Gets it done.
That dude's a triple-double machine.
He
Assists, he can rebound, he could pass, he could shoot. Shoot the
He
three.
doesn't look the part, which is the best part.
Nope. So, point guard and shooting guard. I got Curry and Harden.
Of course. Who would you put at which position?
I would put Curry at point guard just because I think Harden is... I think Steph can create a little more without the ball than Harden can, so I really wouldn't want it in Harden's hand, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I think it's taking away shots from Steph, and essentially, if Harden has the ball in his hand, he's going to shoot it most of the time. I was looking at the Sports Illustrated top 10 that they have this year. I'm going to just run through this quick, and you tell me what you think. They had Greek Freak number 1, Kawhi number 2, LeBron 3, Curry 4, Harden 5, AD 6, Embiid 7, Jokic 8, PG 9, and Dame 10.
Yeah, I saw that list actually. It's interesting. Giannis, I think you have to put him at 1 because if you take him out of the Bucks system, I don't think they're a top 5 East team, quite honestly. So he is like the most valuable player, and which is funny because he didn't average as many points as, for example, Embiid. I think he had 1 more point averaged a game last year than Embiid did. And Embiid had like 4 more rebounds and I think like a half assist more or something like that. So it was interesting because I don't see the hype as much as other people do on Giannis. He's a great player. He's literally a freak of nature, incredible basketball player, fun to watch. He can, get open the floor, throw it out, makes the right passes. He's grown a lot in his, career. But I don't see the hype just as much as the next, I guess you could say. Dame at 10,
I thought
interesting.
Kind of going into like top 15. I thought a couple interesting names on that 11 through 15. You got Jimmy Butler at 11, Westbrook at 12, Anthony Towns at 13, Gobert at 14, and Kyrie at 15.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler is pretty high at 11. I didn't expect
to
see him at 11.
I thought Gobert was a little high there too. I think he's definitely a top 20 player, but
he's a great defender. I think he's right where he should be.
And it's, it's interesting too. In that list, no Klay Thompson and no Kevin Durant. So that definitely would have shaken things up if they were healthy coming into the season.
Of course.
Ben Simmons at 23.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't like that. I think Al Horford might have been listed a little higher than him.
Yeah, Al Horford was 18,
right?
Blake 19, Kemba 20.
Yeah.
LaMarcus Aldridge 16.
Yeah, I would take Ben Simmons over Kemba any day. I would probably take Ben Simmons over majority point guards in the league. Yeah, I think once he gets that 3 down, he's gonna age like LeBron because he's just a big freak. He's a freak of nature. He's 6'9.5", or I think he's actually listed at 6'10". Do you see the NBA change the way they list their players now? They do shoeless, so a lot of players are losing like a half inch of height on their charts.
KD actually got taller. Did you see that?
Did he actually get taller?
Yeah, by an inch.
No way. Well, for example, Ben Simmons is a half inch taller than Al Horford, and Al Horford was playing center last year for the Boston Celtics. So I think that's going to be like an interesting way to look at it moving forward. I think that's going to be a whole nother analytical drop into the game.
It's going to get to the point where it's just, it's not going to come down to positions anymore. It's just going to be, your best 5 where you can suit them. You got your shooters, you got people that can grab boards, but ultimately everyone's athletic enough to play, each and every position almost. So kind of that mix and match. You see who's on the court and who you have to defend, but
sure.
We're getting away from that kind of point guard narrative. Like LeBron is the point guard, but he's also the other 4 positions. So
sure, yeah.
Can't really define him as a point guard. So.
No, there's a very few players. You put Magic Johnson or LeBron James, or I would even put Ben Simmons in that category. Even Luka Doncic. I think he'll show himself as the years go on, like a bigger ball handler.
I think he was the top 30. He was in there.
I think he should. I would. If I'm starting a team, I would love to have Luka Doncic on my squad. And I'd run him at point, quite honestly. I might run a nice shooting guard alongside him. I'd want to put someone like a low-key Landry Shamet on the Clippers.
Yeah.
That kid's going to knock down threes. Or a J.J. Redick or a real shooter, maybe like a more C.J. McCollum or Bradley Beal that can actually create their own shot. But I think Luka Doncic's a great building block to start with. Absolutely. Even when he was coming out from Slovenia a couple years ago, I was high on him. So another NBA topic I would love to get into. Top 5 teams. Your top 5. Who do you think is going to be the top 5 NBA teams going to the year?
Looking out west, I think that's going to be a 3 to 4 team race. You got the Warriors there coming back. You're without Clay, but you still got Draymond, D'Lo, Steph Curry. That team has a championship breed. So I think regardless, they might not finish first like they have the last few years, but they're going to be up in that 3-4 range.
Sure.
Then you look at both the LA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers. I think they're going to be running for that 1-2 seed because I think LeBron's going to bounce back this year. He's going to be fully healthy. He's going to run a whole season. He doesn't have to do too much with Anthony Davis there. But I think the Clippers are going to be the number 1 seed, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm thinking. As far as like my top 5 teams, I have the LA Clippers at number 1. We got a
little guess.
Drop in the stew.
The lovely Julia,
my beautiful girlfriend. She's just saying hello. Definitely, I put the Clippers at 1. They have the most complete team. They have one of the better offenses. We're gonna have one of the better defenses across the board. Montrezl Harrell locking down multiple 4s or 5s. Like I said, not to be slept on. Landry Shamet is a real knockdown shooter as far as the offense goes. But Pat Beverly on defense, Kawhi when PG comes back, that's going to be a real lockdown team. It's going to be awesome to watch. At number 2, who do you think I have?
For West or East or just in general?
In general.
Probably the Sixers.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. I think the 76ers, they're going to have the biggest lineup. They're going to have the longest reach. That defense is going to be stout, and they're just going to be pesters. I was watching this one game this afternoon. Granted, it's against a Chinese team in the first preseason game of the year.
Yeah,
they're playing lockdown defense. They're full court defense. They picked up full court with 2 minutes into the game. So I think they're going to do that all year. They're going to be a bunch of like jerks in that sense where they're just going to lock them down. I mean, any point guard, I can even see Steph getting stifled by Josh Richardson, and I put Ben Simmons and Josh Richardson up against any shooting guard, point guard. 3 in the league that
be a nice 2v2 Kyrie and Karis LeVert versus them too.
But the thing is, though, you can put Josh Richardson's and Ben Simmons' hands finger to finger, and they're covering half the court. You know what I mean? Like they're just like 2 dudes that take up a lot of space, and it's gonna pester a lot of opposing teams just not being able to create their game or start their games or their pick and rolls or whatever the case is because they're quick, they're agile enough. Al Horford's going to be sitting there knocking down 3s, so that's why I'm thinking the 76ers are going to be a clear cut number 2, and it's going to be. If I were to put it, they're going to win more than 55 games. I'll put it that way. I think their over-unders at 55 right now, and I'm going to go over.
All right. I have in the East, I kind of have 3 teams that I think are Eastern Conference worthy. Definitely the Sixers, like all the points you just said. I don't know why you're sleeping on them, but I think the Bucks are still going to be back there.
No, they will.
I think they're going to
100%. They're going to win a lot of games this year.
Just solely on Giannis and he's going to be MVP. I think he's going to have a blow-up year again.
Yep.
I'm like 3A and 3B with this one, Pacers and Nets, because I feel like that can go either way. KD's most likely not going to play this year, but I think the Nets roster is talented enough to kind of be in that upper seeding of the Eastern Conference, and I think the Pacers are going to be slept on a lot this year. Victor Oladipo, Malcolm Brogdon.
I think they are going to be a deep enough team.
When it's kind of not fair when you kind of compare conferences because the West is always so much more competitive, and it's like even like a team like the Jazz that would finish in the 5th, 6th seed in the East gets to like the 8th or 9th seed in the West. So
sure.
I don't know what the NBA could do with that, and I guess there's really nothing you can do, but we got to make a more competitive balance.
Yeah.
It's not really fair that, possibly the Knicks could sneak into the playoffs last year. Granted, they'll be better than they were last year, but what's that going to take? 36 wins? That's not good basketball.
Not quite. I don't know. I got a feeling that the East is turning a corner. I got a feeling there's enough young guns in the East with the Hawks coming up and Magic. I think it's going to be pretty good in a couple seasons that they may take back a little bit more legitimacy when it comes to the East compared to the West because you're right. Every year the West is always, there's 3 teams in the top 5 or there's 4 teams in the top 5. There's always every year.
And it's the worst too because those are the games you want to watch. You want to watch Dame Lillard.
And they're 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night.
10:30 at night. It's I can watch 1 quarter and go to bed.
It's like what's the point? So that'll be interesting to watch. I'm getting really excited for the NBA to get started. So at my 3, so LA Clippers 1, Sixers 2. I got the Lakers at 3. I think I was a little skeptical of LeBron, just staying healthy. He missed 53 games last year, so I thought he was going to come into this year and be maybe not playing. And he's getting older, and I don't expect him to play all 82 games. If he does, you're a beast. But don't do that to yourself. Go easy on yourself. You're in the latter half of your career, and just enjoy the process. Enjoy the little being on the sidelines and hanging if you have to. But I think when he's going to get really excited playing with AD, and I think the two of them are going to complement each other relatively well. I don't think AD is, you put him at, I think, or the Sports Illustrated had him at 7 or 8.
6.
6. Yeah, exactly. He's a great player. He does everything he needs to, and then some.
I think he's going to have
that's a little high for me.
I think he's going to have like a rejuvenation here that like he's actually going to be on a competitive team.
Well, he'll get a lot more
he's
prime
not just
time games.
going out every night and just playing for the Pelicans,
Sure. And we'll actually see him on TV because the Lakers are going to get a lot of burn because that's going to be a fun team to watch. Danny Green at the shooting guard. Rajon Rondo. Kuzma, when he comes back from injury, will be great. JaVale McGee. It's a pretty relatively deep game they have going on there.
They're going to be good. I think they're definitely finishing in the top 3.
And as much as I don't like to, I got the Bucks at 4, yada, yada, yada. And I have Utah Jazz at 5. And I think Utah Jazz is going to be a pretty deep team. But my biggest question is, will Conley interrupt or kind of mess the feng shui of Mitchell's progression to this point?
I don't think so. I think he ultimately helps him, if anything. Mm-hmm. Kind of had him. Who's the point guard there? I don't know if it was Rubio
last year. Yeah.
Rubio's a good point guard, don't get me wrong, but I think Mike Conley ultimately has one of those like top 5 basketball IQs in the league. He's a very smart player. He doesn't turn the ball over that much. Mm-hmm. And him being a 3-point shooter where Rubio's not really known for his offensive game, I think that's going to create a little more space and ultimately get Donovan Mitchell open more.
Sure.
A lot of pick and rolls, a lot of screens and stuff. And, Mitchell's not going to have to handle the ball as much as he has
in the past. Yeah. Yeah. So that I'm excited to watch them play. And 2 sleeper teams I have one in each. I have OKC Thunder in the West. They have a decent squad. I was looking at, when you look at roster top to bottom, instead of Chris Paul, they have Danilo Gallinari, who's a decent shooter at the 4, Steven Adams, which is a great defender at the 5, and you got a couple young guns that are coming up, and they very well may be a lot better than people are anticipating or guessing. And the East team I have is the Orlando Magic, and not just because shout out Fultz, but Fultz is going to come back and be a little bit of a better form or show of what he was in the last 2 seasons, be a little more consistent. Mo Bamba's a great player. You still got Nikola Vucevic, not Jonathan Simmons anymore, but Terrence Ross. I think he's a great wing player to have on your squad. So I'm looking forward to seeing them play. I think they're going to be a lot better this year. I mean, they made the playoffs last year, and I got a feeling they can maybe move up to maybe a 7. They can sneak into a 7 or a 6 spot maybe.
So I'll give you a couple of sleepers, one in each. I think in the West, I think the Sacramento Kings are finally going to turn that corner, and
sure.
They're not going to be that top 5 team in that conference, but I think they're competitive enough to get that 7th, 8th seed. De'Aaron Fox has been phenomenal.
Yeah, he's a great player. He's a great athlete. He's fast.
And I think they have a lot of young pieces there to put around him. Buddy Hield's always that knockdown shooter.
A great shooter, yeah. They lost Willie Cauley-Stein this year to the Golden State Warriors, which I think that will be they're losing a little bit of height there.
Yeah.
Nothing that's they're gonna.
Goes to think, man. I wish they would have just kept Boogie and made it all work out.
I know.
He loved that team ultimately, but it was just time for him to part ways with that.
Well, he's back in California, but just sit in the IR.
Yeah. And then Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that in a couple of previous shows ago, but Trae Young, Salmons, whatever.
Yep.
And
they got DeAndre Hunter now, and they're all Cam Reddish out there on the on the wing as well.
They got a lot of young rookies there and second-year players, and I think Trae Young takes a step up this year. I think you're going to be talking him and Luka Doncic in that same category. I think Luka got him last year, definitely won Rookie of the Year, deserved it, but I think Trae Young is going to show you now that he's adjusted a year in the league that I'm just as good as this guy.
They were both like neck and neck there, and they're always going to forever be tied together because they were pretty much swapped. One was drafted by the other and swapped. So that is both their careers are always going to be they're going to be compared side by side. Much very comparative to Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning. It's just draft day trade. Both are going to be staples of their columns of their both respective franchises, and they'll live out their careers that way. I just think personally, Luka Doncic is going to be a Dirk Nowitzki type player who's going to play for 17 years.
Same.
I think what's
Great
his face?
role
Mark Cuban's going to keep him. He's going to pay him whatever he wants, and he's going to bring any Lithuanian or European he wants over there.
Yeah, the Mavs don't sleep on them this year, too. I think Chris Stapps is coming back. And
Still got Dennis Smith Jr. Or no, he got traded to the Knicks, but then where is he? He's not in the Knicks anymore, is he?
Nah, he's
still in the Knicks. Yeah, no, they got another point guard of the process. I'm drawing a blank on who it is. It's not Dennis Smith. That was my misculpe. I'm drawing a hard blank. It'll come to me eventually.
But yeah, no, I think between Dirk coming, I think believes he's coming back for one more year. Mm-hmm. You got Luka there, and you got oh my god.
It was Hardaway Jr. is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Hardaway's a great defense. Yeah. They're going to be a fun team to watch. And JJ Barea, as always. JJ Barea. So, and then New Orleans Pelicans. That's one team that I find to be very interesting. They're going to get a lot of hype because they have Zion on their team, and he's being compared to the next.
I think you got to look at the assets around him, though. You got
pretty decent team.
You got JJ Redick. You got Lonzo Ball. You got Mark Ingram.
Yep, Brandon Ingram. It's a deep squad. It for sure is a deep squad. So I don't know. I mean, Zion had 16 points last night on 7 rebounds, so he had a pretty good outing.
A poster.
He had a poster. I don't know if you saw Troy Young's net mug JJ Redick.
Yeah.
Or cookied him. Yeah. No, I shouldn't say nutmegged him. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just
JJ Redick's also been to the playoffs every single year that he's been in the league, and he told Zion,
if you don't make it, it's on you. Yeah.
So
there's a lot of teams in that tier that I'm not ready. Young teams, I'm not ready to make that jump yet.
It's interesting to see how that'll all break out. Yeah, Suns, Booker, and you add another couple rookies.
Exactly. The Bridges, Miles Bridges. I wish he stayed in. Mikal Bridges. I wish he just got stayed. Sixers kept him on draft day, but they opted for Zaire Smith. It's right around the corner. I'm getting hyped.
So
October 24th, Sixers basketball.
We're almost there, but let's transition into the now.
What's going on in the MLB game right now?
So Tampa Bay is now up 4-0 in the bottom of the 4th.
Okay.
Adams just hit a home run for the Rays, and
wow.
Looks like Verlander's still in the game for now, but 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 Ks. Maybe you shouldn't have pitched on short rest, buddy.
Yeah, right.
I really hope this screws up the Astros for everything, and ultimately the Yankees, this is their year, like I said in the opening.
Yep.
Going off that Twin series, I mean, the Yankees just dominated every single way. Even when, we went down 2-0 in the first game, Barrios was pitching pretty decent up until they took him out. They were up 2-0. He only pitched 4 innings. I think he was around 75, 80 pitches, and they opted to just go to the bullpen, which if you're going bullpen for bullpen, the Yankees are taking you down every single time. So, I mean, that first game we won 10-4. Torres, MVP of the series, lit it up every single game. I think he drove in a run.
And what I love about the whole series was, Yankees are obviously hitting home runs and they're putting up big numbers, but what won in the series is the defense, dude. They only allowed 7 runs, so it's their pitching and their fielding.
They 23-7, they outscored them this whole series. I think it's 13 consecutive games in a row that the Yankees have beaten the Twins in the postseason. So
wow, yeah.
Major League Baseball should just step in, and if that matchup ever happens, just like skip ahead and just
pass go, don't collect 200.
But ultimately, I think that was good for the Yankees. Swept them out, no drama, no anything. Everyone's going to be well rested for the series coming up. We'll see who it is. Ultimately, I think it's going to be the Astros, but Rays have got a puncher's chance right now. They're up game 4, and we'll see what happens. Going towards the National League. Couple game 5s coming up tomorrow. There's going to be some really good baseball coming up. Cardinals and Braves both 2-2. I think the Braves made a big mistake by starting Dallas Keuchel on short rest. Guy in his history never comes off short rest and ultimately pitched like crap and kind of gave the Cardinals life in the series. Freddie Freeman's not looking like himself for the Braves. He's always that game buster that's going to hit you that extra base hit that home run, lift the team, and just hasn't been doing his thing, which kind of makes me concerned. I think the Cardinals might be able to steal one from the Braves. I thought the Braves were that favorite team to kind of knock off the Dodgers, but we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Do you have a preference in the NLCS? Who would you want to see?
I mean, I don't care between the Cards and Braves. I think if the Yankees do make it to the World Series, I think they're a better team than both those teams. But you're looking at this Game 5 with the Dodgers and Nats.
I would love to see the Nationals win that game.
Oh, man. If the Dodgers would somehow get knocked off, I think they're the most talented top to bottom lineup, bullpen, starting pitching, hitting in the National League. And
so as it stands, wouldn't that be something if the Yankees literally walked into the World Series win because all their competition got lost to lesser teams? That couldn't have been scripted better. That's almost like it's a ploy. It's a conspiracy theory.
Like I said in the monologue, Dodgers and Nats are tied up 2-2. Nats are starting Steven Strasburg, who's, outpitched Mad Max there for the first few games in this postseason. And how are you not starting Kershaw in this game? This guy makes how much money? He's your best pitcher.
They just don't trust him.
He's like 110 games over wins and losses in his career. He doesn't have that postseason breed. He's, you give him the ball in the big game and he just seems to crumble. Going back to last year in that Game 5 in the World Series, could have closed it out, but didn't do it.
Didn't quite get it done.
They're guess the name of their starting pitcher tomorrow. Bueller, who's actually been one of the hottest pitchers in the postseason. He's only has a .57 whip, so he's not letting up any hits, not walking anyone, and ultimately, I think the Dodgers might be overlooking this Game 5 and kind of seeing, maybe you want Kershaw to start Game 1, but it's not how it should be. You got to win the game in front of you and not worry about what's going to happen next, because that's when you're going to get clipped off.
Oof, this is the time to watch.
But I really want the Astros to lose tonight because
I just honestly couldn't have been scripted any better if that's
so. If the Astros lose tonight, the series will be tied up 2-2. Obviously, sudden death game, but that game's not getting played until Thursday, so not that much time for the bullpen and everyone's arms to recover. But ultimately, that sets up the Yankees nice, because if Verlander already pitched tonight, he's not going to pitch again Thursday, and you're ultimately going to throw out Garrett Cole because that's your next best pitcher. You really want Zach Greinke starting Game 1 on Saturday. Maybe Verlander's back for Game 1, but either way, if the Yankees clip one of those games in Houston, I think they have a really good shot at, taking 2 out of 3 in New York, and then
easy.
We'll see what happens.
So we'll see what happens. And as we'll see what happens, we've been seeing what's happening. The biggest upsets and the biggest surprises in the NFL in particular. And a couple teams that I find to be pretty upsetting, because now we're going to switch over to the NFL. We're going to finish off because we're nearing the end of the show, honestly, which is kind of crazy. Time flies when you're having fun.
Let me hit you with 2 quick disappointments.
Let's hear it.
Because I've crapped on them the whole year. Atlanta Falcons, 1-4. What are you guys doing? You have a Panthers team in that division that has their backup quarterback starting. You have a Saints team that has their backup quarterback starting. And then you have a team with Jameis Winston as a starting quarterback. Matt Ryan, you're better than this. I don't know what's going on down there, but
something's got to figure itself out.
Just doesn't make any sense to me. This team is way too talented. We've been going over this for weeks, but like I said, that team's getting blown up next year. They have Matt Ryan locked in. They have Julio locked in, but I think anyone's up for grabs on that team. And little toss-up between these two disappointing teams. I thought they'd be a lot better than they were. Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings.
I put the Chicago Bears down as a upset as well, because
they're both 3-2, so they're staying afloat, but
they're not playing to what they should be. For example, Mitch Trubisky's only throwing 588 yards on the season.
Yeah.
That's through 5 weeks of the year. Their defense is doing everything for them and then some.
Yeah.
And you can't, defense wins you championships. Mitch Trubisky is not even making it, he's not meeting them halfway,
And, he was banged up last week, got taken out the game, and Chase Daniel had to start this game. But he's a decent backup quarterback, but you got to get that ground game going with Tariq Cohen and David Montgomery, Even, what's his name, looked like a solid receiver for once in his life, Allen Robinson, catching a couple touchdowns. And I don't know. I think right up there, another disappointment's the Browns.
Well, they had a lot of hype, so they've certainly fizzled out. I think a lot of people are taking their jabs
North
at them.
Championship, going to the playoffs, all this. But
they're writing a check they can't cash. And the Chargers have really upset me too, or a huge upset, because they're not performing to what everyone thought they would, contending for the AFC West. But
I left the Jets out because that speaks for itself.
That speaks. You got the Patriots. It's not even. Yeah. Another quick little topic I thought was very interesting today. What's going on in the NBA with Daryl Morey on his tweeting towards, he's out there. He's there to help the people protesting in Hong Kong about the, I guess not having the freedom of speech or whatever the case is. But NBA or the CBA, the Chinese Basketball Associations, are pretty much pulling out all their partnerships with the NBA for the rest of the year.
It's a slippery slope you're going with that. Like, if you're going to another country, just keep your mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
Don't comment on anything political. Don't comment on.
Yeah.
And, it's so dumb because the Houston Rockets, Yao Ming is pretty much the basketball whisperer over there,
Yeah.
I'm assuming he had a big part in bringing all this overseas, and, they've had great success. And Nets were just in Shanghai. They played a couple games versus, some of their teams, and great turnout for everything. But NBA is like a world game. You want the whole globe incorporated in that. And I just think you're shooting yourself in the foot by even mentioning something.
Yeah. No, you're not kidding. And I know Adam Silver came out and first was he apologized on behalf of the NBA to the Chinese in regards to the tweet. But he also said, which I loved, that I can't run an NBA on, based on a Twitter reaction, or it'll make you happy on Twitter. So I think Adam Silver is going to handle this all perfectly. And then he ended up coming back out and saying, like, Daryl Morey, I support you and your freedom of speech, and we honor that. But Daryl Morey did kind of put him in a tough situation. They're going to lose $2 billion on this deal, finish out the contract. And it's good to have that intercontinental connection. And it's nice that basketball and sports can bring it together.
How many people from overseas come and end up being stars in the NBA? You see Dirk, you see all these other guys.
You got to trailblaze at some point. And I know Daryl Morey didn't intend on that, and he has his freedom of his speech to say, say whatever. It's just the Chinese are just a little sensitive. They literally banned Winnie the Pooh because people are saying they looked like the.
Well, I actually heard
pulled by the Chinese. If this is podcast.
I actually heard they were going after South Park too. I guess they made fun of them in one of their episodes, and they're going.
This last episode, it was kind of where it all started.
That's crazy.
I hope the NBA didn't start World War III.
As bad as this situation might seem, this guy is still the best commissioner out of the three big sports.
Easy.
Roger Goodell is a piece of crap.
He's the man. Yeah, no, not Roger Goodell. Adam Silver is the man. We saw him at that Knick and Sixer game when we were sitting in the box. So we'll finish off with our picks for the week 6. Right.
All right. So
into week 6.
Let's just run down the line. I won last week, so I'll start off.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to skip right over the Thursday night game. No reason to pick between the Pats and Giants because it's going to be Pats all day.
Yeah, no.
Let's start with this London game. Panthers-Bucks, 9:30 a.m. We'll always love waking up, eating some breakfast, football already on, and it's just an all-day thing.
Yep.
I think I'm going to go with the Panthers in this game. There's not really a home field advantage for one or the other, but Christian McCaffrey is the MVP of the NFL right now.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Russell Wilson,
he's got he's got more yards from scrimmage than Zeke Elliott and Todd Gurley
combined.
Yeah,
I want to find the stats from last week because it was really just.
I think he had almost over 200 yards from scrimmage, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I gotta find it. It was 49 fantasy points, like
it was like 150 yard running and then 80 yards receiving or something ridiculous.
But I don't know.
Because I'll go with the Bucks. What do you have in the next game?
Saints, Jags. Jags are at home.
Yeah, I'm going Saints. I think Teddy Bridgewater's he's playing a lot better. He's doing his thing. Well, the absence of Drew Brees, of course. And you still got Alvin Kamara. You still had the weapons. You still got Michael Thomas.
Yeah, you got a little worried in that first game when they only got the 4 field goals versus the Cowboys. Good defense, and myself as a Michael Thomas owner, I'm like, is this guy really not going to do anything until he comes back? And last week, 8 catches, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, right back on track. So I like the Saints also. I would have picked them, but Jags at home, Minshew Mania. I don't know. Let's see.
What you got next?
So next game for me to pick, this is going to be a tough one. Texans on the road at the Chiefs. Texans coming off their best game of the season.
Chiefs coming off their worst in 2.
Yeah, that was a shocker last week with the Colts, Brissett didn't really have a good game, but Marlon Mack looking like a top 10 back in the league somehow,
He's
some
doing
way.
his thing, yeah. And Jacoby Brissett is doing it. There's something about those quarterbacks from New England.
Yeah,
you got to go there for 1 year, you'll be fine.
I think it's Frank Wright too. Ex-quarterback himself. He really can
coach him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won the Super Bowl with the Eagles. He knows his stuff. He knows a thing or two.
Hard for me to pick against the Chiefs at home, though.
Yeah, I know.
I think that place is going to be rocking. Pat Mahomes, get a little time off this week, rest up. A little banged up last week, but I think they're right back at it this week. Possibility of Tyreek Hill coming back this week, so that'll really open up the floodgates for them. But I just think the Chiefs offense a little too much for the Texans D. So next game for you to choose from. I think this is going to be the game of the week right here. 49ers-Rams.
Going 49ers. They're playing hot. Their defense is doing well. Jared Goff hasn't impressed me as much as I thought he would going into the season after signing that big contract.
Yeah, we said that every week.
Every week, he's just unimpressive, but it's the Rams. They're always going to be great. I think McVay is one of those just great-minded coaches that's going to always put his players in the best position to succeed, really. I just got a feeling 49ers are going to take it. Jimmy Garoppolo is doing just enough. He's a solid quarterback. Once again, those New England Patriot quarterback
I'm on the 49ers
rooms doing
bandwagon,
something.
bro. I'm telling you.
Nick Bosa, Richard Sherman's, he's doing his thing in the backfield. So, yeah, I got 49ers easy on that one.
I think the 49ers are 1 year away from actually being that contender in that division. I think if they can make a trade maybe midseason, maybe snag like A.J. Green or
like Antonio Brown.
Because I think George Kittle's maybe top 3 tight ends in the league next to Ertz and Kelsey.
Yeah,
so
easy.
How we getting the fun stuff? Our teams.
Why do we do this to ourselves every week?
It's who I'm going to take too. Jets, Cowboys. Jets at home.
You got to go with the Jets. That's fine.
Sammy D back off the mono. Liver cleared, spleen cleared, everything's good. Chris Herndon back after the 4-game suspension. Possibly Mosley back this week. Cowboys are in a little skid right now. I think they a
lot of turnovers last week.
Think they're maybe looking at this like a cupcake game, but I think Jets fans and the Jets team will be re-energized with Sam back in the lineup and definitely get the ball more than 106 yards passing every game. So can't get much worse than that. But I think it'll be a close one. Maybe the Jets edge them out 21-17, I'm going to guess.
21-17. Well, I'll happily walk away with the Cowboys because I got a better feeling they're going to win.
Yeah.
And going with the Steelers-Chargers, I want to pick the Steelers because I know the Chargers are going to blow up, but I'm going to have to go with the Chargers because I can't root against them. Well, and not like this would sway me anyways. But
who's playing quarterback this week for the Steelers? Do we hear from Rudolph yet?
I think they're playing
Tommy
Miller.
Probably the third string, right?
Yeah, probably.
Who actually didn't look terrible, and they almost won that game last week versus the Bengals somehow in overtime. If Juju didn't fumble, never know what happened there. But
yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Is this a must-win right here?
For the Chargers?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%, because Raiders are playing very well right now. The Raiders are they're
Steelers.
Which I didn't expect them. No, the
Raiders.
The Raiders are doing, as far as the division goes, exactly. They got the bye this week, but they've been playing a lot better than the Chargers have, that's for sure. And we just need to get those wins, just not for now, but for the end of the season when we're all trying to battle out, conference win would be a great win.
That's one of the surprising teams this year was the Raiders. We pretty much said they were dumpster fire with all those teams who actually lived up to that. The Dolphins, Jets, Redskins, Bengals.
Vikings.
We kind of had the Raiders in there too, but they're looking pretty good right now. 3-2. Just beat the Bears.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs looking like offensive rookie of the year, possibly.
Yeah, he could. Derek Carr doing just enough, as I like to say, at the quarterbacks. Honestly, in the NFL, all you have to do is just enough at quarterback. Let your positional players do everything else.
Win the game, That's all you got to do. You don't got to be flashy and do
that's what so many of these young guns get stuck up on. You get Baker Mayfield trying to make that insane throw or trying to be the next Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes can just naturally do it. Or Josh Allen heaving the ball down as far as he can just to show off his arm, and he gets picked off after throwing an 85-yard dart. So, do just enough, you can win yourself a championship. Mitch Trubisky, take lessons.
Yeah, seriously. Last game that we'll pick for the week, Monday Night Football, divisional matchup, Lions versus Packers. Lions coming off a bye week. Still technically undefeated, I think, with the tie and their couple wins there.
Something like that.
Going with the Packers, though, at home. This team is rolling. You get Devontae Adams back. I think this is going to be a blowout here. Lions defense look pretty good all year, but I think primetime Aaron Rodgers is better than no better than any other QB other than Russell Wilson on prime time. So there we go.
I gotta rock out the lines. It is what it is. Matt Patricia is a good. To me, he's becoming blossoming into a great coach. Detroit is one of those teams that always has like the rain cloud always hanging overhead that they can never get over the hump.
It's always like that. They miss out by one game of the playoffs or something. Or it's like they're
bad
just
luck. The NFC is better that year, so they just never get over that hump every year. And you feel bad for them because they always. Barry Sanders was wasted in his prime. Megatron wasted in his prime.
Yeah,
Matt Stafford getting wasted in his prime, even though he's a statistical monster.
Yeah.
And
it's like I think
Matt Patricia can turn that around now.
You even see what's his name, Eric Ebron, that they drafted, did crap there, goes to Indianapolis and just top 5 tight end now.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that's one of those teams. We'll see how they pan out. They're not quite young. They're not quite old.
Yeah, that division is going to be up and down. I think those are 4 very competitive teams in there. So see how it all lays out. You're really going to have to win these divisional matchups to have a chance. But
sure,
Packers are rolling right now.
Yeah, easily. I know. I don't like Brian LaFleur. I don't think he's just his demeanor on the sidelines is a little jerkish to me.
Yeah,
I think
so is Aaron Rodgers though. So
yeah,
kind of works.
They complement each other perfectly, just like we do. Tiempo. Doing our 6th episode. And we're going to call that a wrap. We're going to call that a show. We're going to sign off and do our thing.
Thank you again, Sono Entertainment Recording Studios.
And if
shout out to Mike's Deli, the best deli in Norwalk, right off exit 16, I-95. Banger right. It's right there.
Woo.
Best sandwiches, best wraps, everything.
Say hello to Billy. He's a nice guy.
So, we out till next week. Your boy Tiempo.
And your boy EB. Adios.
We out.